Welcome in for another week of Dunks and Dogs. Nelly and Nick's picks. Unfortunately, not joined by Nelly again. He just loves to disappoint me. You know, he's whatever. He's working on school or something nerdy like that. We don't have time for school here. Only Iowa high school basketball. So it was a late show today. I actually did have some work to do on the school side of things, but it doesn't matter. None of that matters. We are here to get some dunks and dogs. Of course, we're going to have rankings today as well. And we're going to have some games of the week that we're going to be talking about here today. Crazy week for basketball last week. How about that? We had a lot of upsets. The rankings were quite shaken up this week across the board, 4A through 1A. So really excited to get into that. It was a really exciting week of basketball, and it's going to start getting even more exciting. We're starting to get close to the lower class playoffs. It's just massive brackets. Everybody's playing. Crazy things are happening, but we're going to have as good a coverage as we can possibly put out for you guys. So, yeah, it's going to be really fun, and I think we're ready for it. So, with that, we're going to get started with the rankings for this week. We're going to start off with Class 4A. Bam. There are the Week 8 polls for Class 4A. I'm going to pull up my ranking sheet really quick so we can get started with that. All right. At number 1, 2, 3, and 4, those all stay the same this week. Cedar Falls Valley, Kennedy, and Hawkeyes Northwest. They all stick. Linn-Mar and Dubuque Senior both get a bump in the rankings at 5 and 6. Hawkeyes, they fall to number 7. It looks like they just lost to Hawkeyes Northwest, and that was all. But they did beat Dowling, so kind of tough for the 4A ranker to put them in there. It's been tough on him all season long, I'll say that. Number 8, Dowling, they go up. Ames to number 9, Cedar Rapids Prairie to number 10, and Council Bluffs up to number 11. And then we've got some movement on the downward side. Iowa City West, Johnston, and Muscatine move down at 12, 13, 14. And then Davenport North and Sioux City East, they stay right where they're at, right there at the bottom. So there's Class 4A for this week. Class 3A for this week. Lots of movement. There was tons of stuff going on in Class 3A with Clear Lake. They picked up a very important win over Grandview Christian. I was there to watch that one. Up in Gilbert, that was a really fun tournament. Me, Nelly, and Devin, we were all covering that event, and it was just a lot of fun. Even some of those, unranked games there at the end with Carroll and it was a Carroll, Roland Story, Gilbert, and Dallas Center Grimes. They were really fun games. So that was a really fun event to cover. I'm really glad that we went to that. But Clear Lake, big time win when it mattered most after Ballard got the upset loss to North Polk on Friday night. Clear Lake takes advantage and gets a key win against Grandview Christian. Decorah moves up to number 2 with that. Ballard, after the upset to North Polk, they fall to number 3. Knoxville, ADM, and Storm Lake all move up in the rankings. Nevada drops to number 7. They got upset, obviously. And who did they? Where is it? They lost to Waverly Shell Rock 70-42. That's right. They fall to number 7 in the rankings. Cedar Rapids Xavier, MOC Floyd Valley, they get moved up to 8 and 9. Wahlert drops to number 10. And Wahlert, one of those tough teams to rank because they play primarily 4A teams in their schedule, and they compete, but they just keep losing. But then when they play 3A teams, they do really well. So they stick around in the number 10 spot. I think that's fair. And them and Cedar Rapids Xavier with 4A heavy schedules, I think they're doing the best that they can. Anyway, we'll move it on here. Pella stays at number 11. Clear Creek, Amana, and Glenwood go up to 12 and 13. Mount Vernon drops to number 14. They lost to Marion and Solon, both upsets last week, so they got beat twice. So they fall pretty far in the rankings. And then Keokuk and Des Moines Christian stay at 15 and 16. Going to Class 2A. A lot going on there at the top. Kemper Catholic, they move up to number 1 after what was a really good win for them. Let's see what we got from – whoops, I'm still on the 3A tab. That's why. All right, Kemper Catholic. Geez, they played a bunch of games last week. They beat Harlan, Clarinda, Creston, and then Des Moines Christian at the Gilbert Showcase on Saturday. So that was enough for them to get moved up to number 1. Western Christian, nothing against them. They also won out last week, including a win against Remsen St. Mary's. So, like I said, nothing against Western Christian there, but they're going to drop down to number 2. Grundy Center up to number 3. Granby Christian down a spot after that close loss to Clear Lake. I was really impressed with both those teams. It was really close at halftime, but Clear Lake just starting to fire up there in the second half. They did really, really well shooting the ball and on the defensive side. So, as far as losses go, that was a solid loss for Granby Christian. Obviously, you never want to lose, but, it's just the way that things go. Westline and Cascade stick at 5 and 6. Trainer, Regina Catholic, and Unity Christian go up 7, 8, 9. West Burlington stays put at number 10. Applington Parkersburg goes up 11. Monticello drops down to 12. Tri-Center stays at 13. Ridgeview moves up from 16 to 14. Spirit Lake drops. And Van Meter, brand new to our rankings. I don't think they've been in the rankings at all this season. So shout out to Van Meter for coming into the IAbasketball rankings. Welcome, welcome. We're glad to have you. And we will finish off the Week 8 rankings with Class 1A. 1 through 3 stick with Madrid, Marquette, and a Woodbine. I'm pretty sure Woodbine lost. Yes, they lost to Trainer last week in the MLK Classic. I think that's justified to keep them in the number 3 spot. Trainer's a top 10 team in 2A and a really solid team, and they played really well against Woodbine. But I would agree. I think Woodbine's still one of the best in 1A. Bedford gets a big jump in the rankings from number 6 to number 4. Still undefeated on the season, 15 and 0. So how about them Bulldogs? They are looking really sharp. Gladbrook Rhinebeck jumps up to number 5 in the rankings. Holy Trinity Catholic drops to number 6. They lost to Burlington Notre Dame. That was kind of a shocker, and one that we didn't post, but the last time they played each other, it was also a close game. I remember that because I was going to post it, but Holy Trinity Catholic ended up winning that game. However, tables turned this time around. Burlington Notre Dame, shout out to them. Not in the rankings this week, but after that, certainly got to be on the radar, I would think. Remsen St. Mary's, they stay at number 7. They lost to Western Christian. Never mind. I was thinking of something else. They lost to Western Christian last week. Obviously, one of the best teams in Class 2A, so they will stay at number 7. North Lynn drops to number 8. Who did they lose to? They lost to Alburnett. They got upset in overtime, I believe, and I think it was only 1 point. Really close game for them, but they will fall a few spots in the rankings. Coon Rapids Bayard, they stay at number 9. Collins Maxwell, there's no boost next to them, but they did go up in the rankings. They went from number 12 to number 10. North Mahaska, they go from number 16 to number 11. I saw plenty of flack on that comment section when they beat number 10 Montezuma, sending some words that they were dropped so far in the rankings, but they ended up beating Montezuma, rightfully so. So they get plenty of love in the rankings this week, beating a number 10 team. They jump up to number 11. ACGC, they go up from number 14 to number 12. Montezuma, they drop from number 10 to 13, as I just mentioned, after the loss to North Mahaska. MMCRU, they go up to number 14. I know we're going to have a lot of happy people about this. Hillcrest finally in the rankings. It seems like the last couple times that we posted rankings, we had some upset Hillcrest Academy fans. And they're finally here. They've started the season 15-1, and it's finally time to give them their flowers for this incredible start to the season. So shout out to Hillcrest for finally cracking the rankings. I think it was long overdue. And Northwood Kensett, they fall to number 16 after they lost to Lake Mills. Another one we posted. A lot of these losses I'm posting, man, and I just don't remember. We post so many scores in the week. Sometimes it's hard to keep up. But in any case, we will move on to our picks. But before that, we're going to look at our picks from last week. Luckily, Nellie's not here because I had a terrible week last week when it comes to dogs. 0 for 4. None of my dog picks hit last week. Nellie did get one with Dowling. Couldn't tell you who they beat in that one, but they did get the win there. Both of us went undefeated on the Dunks. So he does gain a little bit of ground on me. It's 48-42. I am 28-0 on my Dunks. He's missed a couple, and then he's 8-20 on the dogs. I'm 10-18. So it's getting closer, man. He's catching up, but I won't let him. I already lost blocks and dogs to Cade. I can't lose Dunks and dogs too. So we're going to hope this is a better week. So, yeah, let's just get right into it. We'll start with the 4A picks. My dunk, I've got Ames taking on. Oh, I actually don't know who they're taking on yet. I got to pull it up on Bound really quick. But my dunk for this week, I've got Ames, and my dog, I have Bettendorf. So while I pull these up, bear with me here for a moment. And I'm not going to, with all due respect, I'm not going to also pull up all the stuff for Kennedy and Des Moines North. I will mention his picks. He did get them in this time, but this would be a very long video. I already talk a lot, and I think if I sat here and went through every single one of our picks, it would be a long yapping show that not a lot of people would be super interested in. So, all right, let's get to it. My dunk, I've got Ames. They are taking on Mason City. I don't believe I picked on Ames yet. I picked against them. I picked Cedar Rapids Prairie going into the conference crossover, and they proved me very wrong in that one. Ames, very talented team. They're 13-2 on the season. Their most recent loss, a 1-point loss to the number 1 team, Cedar Falls. That was a very impressive game for them. Another one of those games where obviously, you hate to lose the game, but I mean, you kept up with the best team in the state. I mean, they've been number 1 for a long time and most of the season, obviously, to this point. So very impressive for Ames to do that. They're 13-2 on the season. Like I said, Jameson Poe has led the way. Ames is one of those teams, they don't have any guys that are, putting up 20-some points a game, but Jameson Poe leads the way, scoring 10.9 points per game. They have taken the series quite handily, 32-2, according to Bound on the series against Mason City. Pretty similar offensive numbers. Ames is getting 57.9 a game. Mason City getting 56.2 a game. But the defense is really what separates them. Mason City giving up 52 a game, while Ames only giving up 40. So I'm going to take Ames in this one. Team I haven't really talked a lot about, but really they deserve to be talked about. I mean, this is going to be a state contender, in my opinion. One of those teams that's just going to quietly float there at the bottom of the rankings. And once it comes to be sub-state and state, they're going to be a dangerous team that I would not want to play. So shout out to Ames. That's going to be my dunk for this week. And my dog, I'm taking Bettendorf over Davenport North. Bettendorf, a team that's kind of floated in and out of the rankings this year. Davenport North, they've kind of solidified themselves there in that 16-11 area. They're 11-2 on the season. I got to watch Bettendorf live at the conference crossover. I was really happy to go to the crossover. I got to see a lot of teams that I don't really get to see that often, and Bettendorf being one of those teams, I thought they played really well. I think they shot the three fairly decently. It looks like their 3-point percentage, 32.3%. I don't have everybody else's numbers, but it is better just by a hair than Davenport North. Looking at it, it looks like Davenport North and Bettendorf, they really go, numbers for numbers there, both making 64 points a game. Looks like Davenport North's defense is just 3 points better on the average points allowed per game. But other than that, these two are really even. Bettendorf's got a bit of a worse record with 8-5, but I definitely wouldn't put it past Bettendorf to get an upset there. They're leading the series 25-7 according to Bound. So I'm going to take Bettendorf to pull off the upset in that one. And then, like I mentioned, Dunk, Kennedy, and Dog for Des Moines North for Nelly. And he's not here to explain it. And I know he's going to watch this, and I know he's going to see all this shade that I'm throwing at him. That's what you get, man. Never pick school over IAbasketball ever again. In any case, we'll move on to Class 3A. My first pick, I'm going to go with Clear Lake. Clear Lake, this might be a little bit of recency bias since I just watched them in person for the first time. I was very impressed. They played a really good game against Granby Christian, who I've also seen, and I was very impressed with the way they played against Nevada. And so to watch Clear Lake do that, I think they absolutely deserve to get that number one spot in 3A as of right now. Thomas Meyer, guys, it's funny seeing their top three scorers. These are all guys that I got to cover during the football season. So Thomas Meyer, Jackson McIntyre, Titan Schmidt, these are all familiar names to those who also watch the football show. They're the leading scorers for this team. They're 13-0 start to the season. They're taking on Clarion Goldfield Dows. They have dominated this series 31-7. And I'm just going to take the Lions to keep this train rolling, man. They have looked really good. And, right now, it's hard to not pick them as the favorite to win the state title. Obviously, a lot of season left to play, and anything can happen in the postseason in just those one game. So, obviously, you never, ever know. But I really like the way that Clear Lake's been playing. I really enjoyed watching them in person. They're a fun team to be able to film and cover. So, I'm going to take them as my dunk. And then my dog, I'm going with ADM. They play on the 31st, and they're taking on Ballard. So I was at this game, the first round, earlier this season. That one was at ADM. And let's see what the score. I don't remember the score right off the dome. 58-55, and it came down to a last-second shot, and it hit off the iron for Ballard to win the game, and they stormed the court. It was a big deal. And that was for Ballard to take the series lead 19-18. These two have been going toe-to-toe for a while now. But Ballard's got something to prove, Fresh off of an upset against North Polk. Lucky guess, Nelly, that he was at that game. How about that? We got coverage of that game. So they've got, they got to turn it up here because they dropped in the rankings, and obviously they want to prove that they're still the team to beat in Class 3A, but I'm a believer, and it's hard to beat a really good team like ADM twice. So I think this is going to be a real challenge, even more challenging than the last time. But, yeah, I'm going to go with ADM, Hudson Lawrenson. These guys are the real deal, and I think that they prove it against Ballard in round 2. Nelly's dunks and dogs for this week. He's got Storm Lake as a dunk and Gilbert as a dog. And that is Storm Lake's game on the 28th and Gilbert's on the 27th. And Gilbert, that game, we're going to talk about for our game of the week against Nevada. So more on that later. I will get to that game here at the end. So now we'll move on to Class 2A. There's the picks right there. My first pick, I'm going with my dunk Trainer. Let's see, Trainer. This game, they play on the 28th. Okay. Trainer. There they are. All right, they're taking on Missouri Valley. I was very impressed with Trainer, the way they played against Woodbine. I know they're a class lower, but, Woodbine's been a historically really good team in the last couple years. And now Trainer, they take on Missouri Valley, who 36-1 historically. The last time, according to Bound, Missouri Valley has beaten Trainer was February 9th, 2007 in a 39-36 score. That's a very interesting score. Not as interesting as the Remsen St. Mary's MMCRU score last week. Maybe it was last week. It was like 33-32. That was the most ridiculous score that I've seen in a minute. But anyway, Alec Lovely has been leading the way for the Trainer Cardinals. They've been kind of up and down in the 2A rankings, but they're starting to stay in that top 10 spot, and I think that's where they deserve to be. They've been really solid. Alec Lovely, 19 points a game. He's been really good for Trainer. So I'm going to take them 12-3 to beat Missouri Valley. And my dog for this week, Monticello. Monticello on the 31st. They take on Cascade. This was an arguable game of the week. I think they were already game of the week. Let me go back a little bit. I'm very certain that, the last time they played in week 3, when Monticello was 3 and Cascade was 4, this was the game of the week. So that's probably why Nelly didn't pick it. But Monticello, 12-2. Obviously, half their losses come from Cascade. Cascade 13-2. So really even there. Looking at the numbers, it looks like Cascade is a bit better, 68 points per game, while Monticello's got 63. Cascade giving up just a point less per game. But, this is same conversation that I'm having before. I mean, Monticello's a really solid squad, and Cascade's already beat this team, and I think it'll be really tough for them to do it again. In the last time that they played, Monticello won. Yeesh. Take back everything I just said. I don't even know what I'm talking about, man. Monticello won the game. I'm going to get clowned for that. Anybody who's a 2A fan that just watched that happen, take it easy on me. There's a lot of scores to cover, but I'll move on. Monticello won last time, 10 points, so I'm going to take them to do it again. I'm going to move on after that. That was just embarrassing. Good grief. Anyway, Nelly's taking the dunk for Cascade. Is that the same game? He doesn't have the date. I'm going to assume he's not picking Cascade as a dunk over Monticello, but who knows. And Pella Christian as the dog for this week. Gosh, sorry about that, everyone. I'm so unprofessional. Move on to 1A. To finish off our picks for week 8, my dunk, I've got North Mahaska. Let's see, that is the game on the 27th. All right, they're taking on Woodward Granger. After beating the number 10 team in the state, Monticello, who has one of our IAbasketball watch list players, Brady Bolton, I was very impressed with the Warhawks. They did lose by 10 points to Keota, who I believe fell out of the 1A rankings. I was kind of shocked to see that personally. But anyway, Woodward Granger, they just lost. They're on a 4-game skid as of right now, but 2 of those games were against ranked 1A teams in ACGC and Madrid. However, Asher DeBoeuf, he's been leading the way for North Mahaska, 16.2 points per game. Also leading in assists and rebounds, 11.1 on the rebounds and 4.2 on the assists. So I'm going to take North Mahaska as my dunk. And my dog, Galen Catholic. This is kind of a dicey pick here. A little bit risky. They're taking on Remsen St. Mary's. They've been a top 10 team in 1A pretty much all year this year. They're Remsen St. Mary's, they lost twice in the last couple weeks. Once to Western Christian, once to MMCRU. I mean, those are good losses, if you want to call them that. And the last time they played, is that right? I guess they've played a couple times. Oh, that's confusing. Anyway, the last time they played, it was a 39-33 Remsen St. Mary's win. Very close game, but I'm going to take Galen Catholic this time around. They're 11-6 on the season, and they've competed with some really good teams. Just a 1-point loss to MMCRU last week. So I'm going to take Galen Catholic to flip the script this time around and beat Remsen St. Mary's. That'll be an unranked over ranked opponent if that one turns out to be true. And Talon's dunks and dogs for 1A. West Liberty as his dunk and East Mills as his dog. So that'll do it for our picks. Don't go just yet. We've got Game of the Week coming up right now. And I've been talking for a long time. This is quite a long show considering Nelly's not here to talk with me. So I'll try and get this moving along. All right. Our first game of the week, Class 4A, we've got Cedar Falls, number 1, against Prairie at number 10. So I'm going to pull that up really quick. I don't think these teams have played yet this season. I could be wrong. All right, here we go. Number 1, Cedar Falls, taking on number 10, Cedar Rapids Prairie. What else is there to say about Cedar Falls? They're 12-1 on the season. Their one loss came to Linn-Mar a couple weeks ago. And Prairie 10-3 on the season. Their last loss came to Iowa City West in an 11-point game a couple weeks ago. But they played and beat Decorah, who's a top 3 team in 3A. And I think Prairie's just one of those teams that they compete and they beat the teams that, I think they should beat. And numbers-wise, their defense is a bit worse than Cedar Falls on paper. 45 points per game with Cedar Falls, 58 for Prairie. Prairie didn't do amazing against Ames in the conference crossover. They lost pretty handedly, and Cedar Falls beat Ames by just 1 point. So Ames has given both of these teams some trouble. But this is going to be an interesting game. If I had to pick one, I think Cedar Falls would probably take this, but there's a reason we play these games, and they're not decided on paper. So we'll see about that one. That's our 4A game of the week. 3A game of the week, we've got number 7 Nevada versus Gilbert. Gilbert, an unranked team. They have been ranked this season at some point, not actively, and they lost to Dallas Center Grimes. That was kind of a gritty game. It was back and forth, and a lot of things happening at the event. Some things that were not happening on the court. People were very upset at that game, but it was fun to watch. It was very competitive. Both teams played obviously as hard as they could. Nevada and Gilbert. I've watched both of these teams now. Nevada, the team that I would say both of these teams, they don't have one guy who just sticks out. I mean, they all distribute the ball well. I think they just play overall solid defense. They really do a good job of getting everybody involved on the offense. Nevada's defense is the outlier here. They're giving up 46.5 points per game, while Gilbert is giving up 58.7. So I think that's going to be the key deciding factor here. It's kind of a quiet week in Class 3A, but nonetheless, this would be a solid win for Nevada to get under their belt. Class 2A game of the week, we have got Unity Christian and excuse me, how rude. Unity Christian taking on MOC Floyd Valley, and that game is taking place on the 27th. And I'm going to have that pulled up if I can find it. Come on now. Seriously? Is it not on the 27th? Did Nelly write down the wrong date so that I have to sit here and waste your guys' time? Oh, he didn't even write down a date, so that makes sense. Sorry, I don't dislike Nelly. He does a lot for IAbasketball. I just feel bad that I'm sitting here talking for so long. But that's why you're here. You're here to listen to me yap about Iowa high school basketball. All right, now I've got the game pulled up. MOC Floyd Valley, number 9 in our 3A rankings, and at Unity Christian, number 9 in our 2A rankings. Very comparable teams. Unity Christian with a bit of a better advantage on offense, 71 points per game, while MOC Floyd Valley has the edge on defense, 51 points per game. But I mean, their numbers are neck and neck in those categories. MOC Floyd Valley, they've won their last 5 games, notably a 50-35 dominant win over West Lyon. That was a bit of a shocker. I mean, not that MOC Floyd Valley isn't a good team. It's just West Lyon is a very good team who's been really good this season, and MOC Floyd Valley kind of ran the table in that one. And Unity Christian, they've went 4-1 in their last 5 games. They lost to Western Christian, the number 2 team in Class 2A, by 1 point, 73-72. So pretty comparable teams. And I think it's hard for me to say because some of these games are like the 3As and 2As, the cross-class games kind of get dicey in how it turns out. Sometimes the upper class just, runs the table like MOC Floyd Valley did with West Lyon, and sometimes the underclass shows that they could probably compete in the class ahead. So this one's kind of hard to pick. I definitely wouldn't pick from this game, but anyway, we'll move on and finish it off with our Class 1A game of the week. Gladbrook Rhinebeck versus Applington Parkersburg. I'm going to pull this one up. Both of these teams were rising in their respective rankings, with Applington Parkersburg going up in the 2A and Gladbrook Rhinebeck going up in the 1A rankings. Okay. Gladbrook Rhinebeck 12-2 on the season. Applington Parkersburg 13-1. They have Applington Parkersburg. They've gone 5-0 in their last 5 games. Gladbrook Rhinebeck, they did lose to Grundy Center, which is a top 10 team in Class 2A. So they did compete with Grundy Center in that one. Gladbrook Rhinebeck has the upper hand in the series, 5-4 since 2010, so just 1 game difference, according to Bound. But they've won their last 2 matchups. Most recently, it came last season around this time, and it was a 66-62 close game. So a new chapter in this kind of short series between the two. Drew Ehlers, the guy to know for Gladbrook Rhinebeck. I believe he was the player of the game for one of the state dome games in football also. 15.2 points per game for him. He's leading his team. And Benny Waller, he's got 21 points per game for Applington Parkersburg. So a close matchup there. Again, hard to read when they're the cross-class games. I think this could go either way between these two, but Gladbrook Rhinebeck, they're a competitive team. They've already competed with some 1A team or some 2A teams, so I think it'll be a tough game for Applington Parkersburg. 30 minutes later, a bit of a long show, but I love talking Iowa high school basketball, man. It's a lot of fun, and hopefully you guys enjoy watching. I know most of you probably aren't watching this full 35-minute video, but that's okay. I'm happy to get the content out there for you guys. Keep up the the likes and the comments and the sharing of our content. I hope that you guys really do enjoy it. It's all fun and games what we do here, and we enjoy getting these picks out for you and getting this information out to you guys. And we really do hope you enjoy it because we enjoy making it for you. I know that, I know Talon enjoys making the graphics for us and going out and taking videos of the games. So we really hope that you guys appreciate that. And we're going to keep doing it all the way until the end of the season. So be sure to stay tuned keep up on our socials. We're on X, Instagram, and Facebook. And obviously, we are posting here on YouTube every Sunday. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and we will see you next week.